Welcome, guys. My name is Tulu. I'm a Christian dating coach, and I specialize in showing single Christian women how to go from single to married in a year. Now, quickly, the Wife in Waiting program will close in 7 days. So, on the 9th of November, the program will close and stop taking applications. If you know you're a single Christian woman that is finally ready to step into a committed relationship, this is the program for you. We are closing our doors in 7 days. So if you want to apply, click the link in my bio and first tab. If you have any questions at all about Wife in Waiting, feel free to send me a DM and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions, or you can send me an email at tolu@tolufalode.com. This program is designed for women of faith that are ready to get into a committed relationship in 6 months. Okay, so let's talk about when God speaks about your marriage. And I've been talking to a couple of you as we are rounding up applications for Wife in Waiting. And the reason I chose this topic is specifically I've been getting questions around, okay, does God choose your spouse? What does it look like when God has said you can marry this person? What does the process of dating, in alignment with the faith looks like? First thing you want to know is when God speaks about your marriage, He's going to speak about it at His own time. So what I mean by that is you cannot control how the Lord will reveal to you when you are going to marry, who you are going to marry, what is going to happen. He will do it in His own way. And you will know what I mean if, and I'm sure you have experienced this, when you've prayed for certain things in your life and you are waiting for an answer within a time frame, and God answers outside that time frame or answers in ways that you could literally never expect. That's why, it's important to know that when you are in relationship with God, it's really a relationship. He can speak to you about anything at any time, including your husband, including your marriage. So what we do with our clients in Wife in Waiting is, firstly, we help you to understand how God's voice sounds for you to be able to hear, because the way I hear the Lord is going to be different from the way you hear the Lord. It's going to be different from the way your pastor hears, your parents hear, your siblings hear, your friends hear. So it's important that you nurture that relationship with Him so that you know when He is speaking to you. Because the mistake I see so many Christian women make is assume the Lord is speaking when He hasn't spoken, jump to conclusions based on what was purely coincidental. Maybe you prayed today, you met a man tomorrow, or you prayed for a certain thing and something happened in that exact way. When God confirms, there is consistent evidence. So, I've seen so many women fall for belief that, oh, God has spoken about this man, or God said I should marry him, when God never said so. So it's important for you to know how the Lord speaks to you. Everybody else's suggestion under that umbrella is simply additional confirmation. So I always focus my clients on understanding, what does God's voice sound like in your own life? Let's nurture that. Let's develop that. And that's part of what you learn inside the Wife in Waiting curriculum. And that's part of what I coach you on, to be able to know when the Lord is speaking and to be able to get clarity around what His voice sounds like when He is speaking to you. Because when He's going to speak about your marriage, there are certain things He won't reveal to anybody. I don't care how anointed the minister or the prophet or the pastor is. I don't care how close you are to your parents, your siblings, or your friends. There are certain things God will only tell you. And it's important that you know what His voice sounds like so that you can hear. And that comes from developing your relationship with Him, speaking to Him, listening to Him. Obedience also helps a lot in that regard. And just being bare with the Lord. And when I say bare, I mean being honest, being open, being transparent. And that's part of the skill set we teach you inside the Wife in Waiting program, because literally no one knows who your husband is apart from God. Nobody, and God is a spirit, is not a person, obviously. But nobody can tell you, this is what this man looks like, this is where you're going to meet him, this is how you're going to meet him. And that's why we focus on coaching my clients on understanding that God can introduce you to your husband at any time. I've been doing this for close to 10 years, and I've seen very interesting ways that the Lord has introduced couples to each other. Whether it's through friends or family, or it's through an event, or it's through the work environment, or it's through some sort of random connection. God works in His own way. So it's important to be able to know what he is saying you should do and how you should do it. And that's why inside the Wife in Waiting program, not only do I coach you on hearing the voice of God, I show you how he's speaking about your dating, because before you get married, you're going to have to date that man. You're going to have to meet men. So it's important that you introduce God at the beginning, not towards the end when you've already caught feelings. You're barely able to hear when he's talking because, you've awoken love before it's time, as Song of Solomon 8:4 says. Not when everybody else has given you their opinion and you're already infatuated with this man, or you're already committed to him, or you've invested so much time and energy. No, we focus on making sure my clients involve God from the very beginning. Right? If you meet John today, you start talking to him today, you know that you're interested in John, take him to the Lord. It's very important that that introduction happens, because what happens as a result is you won't be able to go farther than the Lord allows and agrees. And I've seen this work so well with my clients in different ways, whether men just start saying things that they never intended to say, in terms of, okay, letting my clients know that they're not serious or ready for a relationship, or they're already in a relationship. It's just a way to save yourself time, energy, and to be able to step in full agreement and alignment with what God has willed over your life maritally when you involve him at the start. So if you want to know what God is saying about your marriage, as you are meeting men, be taking them to God. And something else that I like to let my clients know and I coach them on is understanding that God will give you options. You are not supposed to just choose one man. God is a God of abundance. He speaks a language of abundance. Be fruitful, multiply. When God is calling you to an opportunity, there are going to be options. Just like with your marriage, there are going to be options of the men that you can marry. So something else you learn inside the Wife in Waiting program is to date multiple men at the same time. And when I say date multiple men at the same time, I'm talking about getting to know multiple men at the same time that match your criteria and that meet your spiritual desires in a partner. Being able to stay in that space of actually getting to know men, listening to what the Holy Spirit is saying, taking your time, allowing that man to lead without your influence, without your pressure, and just be discerning through that process. I show you how to do that inside Wife in Waiting. I hold that space with you. It's how I've been able to literally lead my clients to their husbands. It's how I've been able to help my clients know when a man is a counterfeit without wasting months of their time, and know within a few hours if this is a connection worth exploring or not. It's knowing that you have options. And I see a lot of Christian women think they don't have options. Why? Because you've been told that your standards are too high, you're asking for too much, you need to settle, you don't have choices anymore because you're in your 40s, 50s. There are no men that will find you attractive as a single mother. You've just been told all these lies that are not true. And what has happened as a result is you think that the pool is very limited and very small, and you should just manage any man that comes. That's why a lot of you are talking to men you don't find attractive. It's why a lot of you are entering conversations with men that you are not interested in. It's why you are sometimes entering relationships and even getting engaged to men that do not align with your spiritual, emotional, financial, and physical values. It's because you are not dating with that conviction that you have options, or out of the kind of man you want. And inside Wife in Waiting, I show you what it looks like to have options when you are dating, what it looks like to meet men consistently that match your basic criteria, what it looks like to be approached and be visible to men that you find attractive. Something else to know is when God speaks about your marriage, He's also going to speak about your character. He's going to speak about, how you are carrying yourself. You'll find that the Holy Spirit will be convicting you about certain things in your character, your personality, your behavior, and He'll be using your current relationships to carry out that conviction in your life. He's also going to ask you for certain things in your life that maybe you have turned into an idol. Maybe you are still connected to your ex, or you are still entertaining relationships with people that are not good for you, or you keep going back and round in circles with the same kind of men, just with different names. Like the same issues you had with John is the same issues you have with Tunde, it's the same issues you have with Tayo, and so on and so forth. And the reason for that is because you don't have the full confidence to lay it at the Lord's feet and leave it. And that's why, He's going to speak to you a lot about your character. And what you want to understand is when God is talking to you about your husband, right? He's not going to say you are going to marry John on so and so day at so and so time. He's not usually that specific. what will happen is, he will talk to you again, and like I said, about your character. He will lead you to carry out a particular project. He will allow certain opportunities to come into your life. He will start molding you to be a wife, because he knows the kind of marriage he's calling you to, and he knows what you need to be able to carry, to be able to commit to that kind of relationship. So you want to pay attention to every single thing the Lord is telling you, because he's not a human being. It's not like when we are discussing as humans and we say, oh, I need you to do A, B, and C. The Lord requires you to walk by faith, not by sight. So he can give a simple instruction that seems, completely random, but that is going to be an instruction that will lead you to your spouse. So you want to pay attention to everything he's telling you. And that's why inside the Wife in Waiting program, one of the ways in which I help my clients to date to get into a committed relationship in 6 months is to hold that space of prayer. We host monthly prayer calls to be able to, allow our sisters, as we call ourselves, to hear what the Lord is saying, and to be able to help me to help you interpret what that looks like practically, and where God is calling you in this season. I've literally been led to tell my clients anything from, you need to start sharing online, or you need to, you need to start focusing on this business. And that is not coming from a place of strategy. It's coming by the Spirit of the Lord. And those opportunities and those, instructions will be places where not only will they grow as women, but also become the wives that God has called them to be. And they could potentially meet their spouses. I've seen it play out in different ways, whether it's led my clients to men that they are actively dating, or it has opened up opportunities for them to be able to pour into other women and develop their skill set in a way that will make them more visible to the kind of men they want. And that's why this is a Christian dating program that functions very differently from regular dating programs. I'm not just using my experience as a dating coach. I'm using the fact that I am following the instruction of the Lord as it concerns and pertains to your own unique marital path, that is your journey towards marriage, and helping you to discern what God is asking you to do in this season in a way that you can practically apply. So that instead of wandering around for another 12 months and ending 2026 in the exact same place you've ended 2025, 4, 3, and however many years you've been waiting, you actually see tangible progress through the Wife in Waiting process in the next 30, 60, 90 days, right? So when God is speaking, you want to really pay close attention, and that's part of the skill set that you learn in the program. Something else I will say is it requires you to lay your marriage at his feet. And again, in my experience as a dating coach, I've worked with a lot of Christian women. Part of the issue is you've subjected your marriage to such a tight timeline that it has now become an idol. In as much as the work that we do together in Wife in Waiting is to get you in a committed relationship in 6 months, that is also going to involve you learning to lay it at the Lord's feet and follow his instruction as I guide you through the program's process, which includes, meeting men online, in person, through your current routine, actively as you go about your day-to-day activities, listening to what the Lord is saying about your life in this particular season, but still learning to leave it at his feet. And that is a skill that you will learn inside the Wife in Waiting program that has successfully helped my clients to match with their husbands and meet the men that they've eventually gotten married to, even after years of being single and no relationship in sight and no men in sight. But it's like a spiritual switch that needs to happen when it comes to your dating life, where you learn to lay it at the Lord's feet and don't interrupt and don't get involved. Part of the Wife in Waiting process is showing you how to do that in an active way, because the mistake I see so many women make is you pray and you just sit down. No, that's not what I'm saying. You pray and you position yourself. You pray and you are actively available to connect to your husband. So that is the process of partnership with the Holy Spirit that I show you how to do practically inside the Wife in Waiting program. Finally, what I will say is this. Your path to marriage, if you have that desire for marriage, you are called to marriage. Because not everyone wants to get married, just like not everyone wants to have kids. It's kind of like when you were growing up and you always knew you wanted to be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. Not everyone had that desire. So if you have the desire for marriage, you are called to marriage. And the reason I say that is I don't want you to doubt that desire, because that can also be a strategy the enemy uses to delay your marriage. Your participation is required for your marriage to happen. And part of your participation is you being in full agreement and alignment that you are going to get married. So stop entertaining thoughts of doubt, fear, anxiety, because those actually also create a barrier for men to be able to see you and approach you. Some of you, you're dealing with fear, you're dealing with the anxiety of never meeting the right man, you are dealing with the insecurity of not being beautiful enough or not being attractive enough. And the problem is that will translate into your opportunities to actually actively match with good quality men, ask them the right questions, have the right conversations, build the right commitment foundation to have a healthy marriage and relationship, which is why inside Wife in Waiting, part of the work I do with my clients also involves cleaning up their emotional state. And when I say your emotional state, I'm talking about the way you think about yourself, the way you think about, the opportunities you have to meet your husband, the way you have made yourself available to men, cleaning up the way your standards and boundaries are set up, and how you have conversations and connect with men practically is part of the work we do in the program, so that as God is speaking to you, you are carrying that word with confidence, and it's translating into the way men see you, men approach you, because not everything and not every time is it going to be a question of, joining a dating app or swiping, through the apps or connect or making eye contact with men. Sometimes a man will see you first. Sometimes he will come through a connection that you cannot predict and you cannot know. It could be a friend. It could be it could be a professional colleague. It could be, it could even be a stranger. We don't know. So visibility is not just about connecting with men with your eyes. It's also about cleaning up your relationships and cleaning up the way you perceive yourself, so that people start seeing you differently, right? Even when you are not paying attention, even when you walk out of the house and you don't know who is looking at you, people just see you differently. That's what visibility is really about. And that's part of the work that I show you how to do inside the Wife in Waiting program. Regardless of if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s, the program will work to make sure that your visibility increases. And you will just, as sisters in the program have seen, you will just notice that more men literally walking down the street are noticing you. You will notice that, you are attending functions and you are getting more male attention than before. Again, as my clients have experienced, and it's because I've done the work with them of cleaning up the way they think about themselves and the way they have created a standard for the kind of men they are available to. All of it works together. And this is the work that we'll be doing inside the Wife in Waiting program. So when God is speaking about your marriage, in summary, he's not going to just be like, oh, you're going to get married this day, this time. Sometimes, yes, that revelation can come in that way. But something you really want to understand is it's a question of listening and staying in that position of submission to the Lord's will, learning to leave it at his feet while practically dating in a way that is in partnership with the Holy Spirit. So in as much as you have left your marriage at the Lord's feet, you are still, using dating apps strategically. You are still, connecting with men offline through your networking events or through social functions. You are still going on dates with men you find attractive and having active conversations with men and taking them to the Lord. But at the end of the day, the buck ends at what the Lord has said. That's what it looks like when you are laying it at his feet and you are listening to what he's speaking over your marriage. And inside Wife in Waiting, this is the work I do with you that has successfully helped my clients to get into the right relationship in 6 months so that they're on track for marriage within a year. You don't need, men don't need, they don't need time. I've seen this again and again and again. I've been a Christian dating coach for close to 10 years now. And all my clients that have crossed that threshold of singleness to marriage, it happened within a 12-month timeline, give or take. A man doesn't need as much time as you're giving him. And the reason I'm saying this is for those of you that are praying for relationships that God has clearly told you no to. That man is not your husband. That's where I'll end this. But here's the thing. If you know that you're ready to actively start meeting men right now, you don't want to spend another year wondering and waiting and trying to improve yourself and wasting your time, but you actually want a very simple step-by-step strategy to date as a Christian woman that honors the presence of God in your life and puts you in front of your husband, then apply for Wife in Waiting. We close our doors on the 9th of November, which is in 7 days. So you click the link in my bio and first tap to apply. Once I receive your application and you're the right fit, we'll have a conversation and you'll be welcomed into the program, and we can get you started meeting men before Christmas so that you have men that you are actually actively talking to and interested in by 2025 Christmas, okay? Instead of waiting another year and just being in the exact same position you've been in for the last 5 years. If you have any questions about the program, feel free to send me a DM or email me at tolu@tolufalode.com. More than happy to answer your questions, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.